He's a communist.
He's a pure communist. I think he admits it.
We'll have to arrest him.
Frankly, I've heard he's a total nut job.
This guy is a communist at the highest level. He's a communist, okay? This is not a socialist, man. This is a communist.
Those are just some of President Trump's recent attacks on New York City's mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani, who is in the lead to win the election there. We have said it since day one. Republicans are making a huge mistake by dismissing the Democrats' turn towards socialism. Celebrating it is even dumber. It appears President Trump is not making that mistake. The New York Times is out with a new report. Trump weighs getting involved in New York City's mayor's race. Mr. Trump has quizzed a Republican congressman and New York businessman about who in the crowded field of candidates has the best chance of beating Mr. Mamdani, the leftist frontrunner. Mamdani's meteoric rise boils down to the fact that he's a skilled politician with a detailed message of things that he is for. The last person to lead a movement garnering this much attention was Trump himself. The main knock on Democrats since the election is they don't stand for anything other than fighting Trump. Mamdani is the exception to the rule. The question is, does Trump really actually want to end the movement? Or is this just a shill, perhaps, to help Mamdani? Mike Nellis, former senior advisor to Kamala Harris, one of the original white dudes for Harris, is joining us now. Good to see you, Mike. Mamdani winning, just politically, is good for Trump or bad for Trump?
I don't think it's either for Trump. I think it's representative of how far away both political parties are for being able to solve any of the problems that most Americans are facing. Everything's more expensive, housing is hard, and when people are struggling like they are now, they're going to take risks on candidates who are outside the mainstream. They took a risk on Donald Trump. People in New York are taking a risk on Mamdani. He ran a great campaign. I think it's just what it is. People are going to take risks when the establishments in both parties are not delivering for them.
Do you think Trump talking about getting involved, and if Trump endorses a candidate on, does that help Mamdani, or does that help the candidate that Trump gets behind?
I don't think it's going to have much of an impact on the race. I think Trump is just trying to stir stuff up, and he's got to make everything about himself. And I think this race is going to be no different than that. If he injects himself, it's just going to create more chaos in it. I don't know that it'll have an impact on the outcome.
Interesting you say Trump makes everything about himself. Democrats make everything about Donald Trump as well. The glaring exception to that rule is Mamdani. Here is Mamdani being asked directly about Donald Trump. Take a listen.
I have already had to start to get used to the fact that the president will talk about how I look, how I sound, where I'm from, who I am, ultimately because he wants to distract from what I'm fighting for.
Is that a lesson for Democrats who seem to start almost every sentence with something complaining about Donald Trump?
I think it is, but I reject the framing that it's only Zohran who's doing it. There are a lot of great young Democrats who are stepping forward to represent the next generation. Mallory McMorrow in Michigan, Lauren Underwood here in Illinois. There are a lot of Democrats who are articulating what the future of the party can look like. And I don't think it's Zohran. Like, look, Zohran won that primary. He's good for New York City right now. I'm assuming he's going to win that general election, most likely, but he's not going to be able to win everywhere else. We need candidates who can step up in each individual community, are connected to the problems, are trying to actually help people. You and I talked about this last time we were on here. We don't have enough people who run for office that actually care about solving any problems. They just want to get
that's a fair point. But the people you mentioned, especially the woman in Michigan, is very progressive. I mean, she is not a middle of the road, what we would call traditionally even blue dog Democrat. I want to play for you Michael Bennett. I think you'd say he's about as establishment as he is, senator from Colorado.
I'm also incredibly angry at the National Democratic Party for losing a second election to Donald Trump. We should never have lost this election. We should never have lost this election. It is catastrophic. You tell me what the Democrats' education policy was in the last election. You tell me what the Democrats' health care policy was. You tell me if Democrats had an immigration policy that made any sense.
Okay, so we can agree that he's right, correct?
Yeah. He's absolutely right. We didn't do enough to identify how we were going to help people in this last election.
Okay,
now,
so
Kamala
you
Harris's
think
credit,
though
she only
about
had 170 days to do it.
she was vice president for 4 years, but anyway, that we look forward, not back. 80-20 issues in America. These are things that he could take, that any Democrat could take on: deporting illegal immigrants with a criminal record, term limits for members in Congress, requiring background checks on firearm sales, raising taxes on the wealthy, banning transgender athletes from women's sports. 80-20 issues. Why is it so hard for Democrats to champion those?
Well, I think the Democrats do champion at least most of the issues on that list. I think we need to do a better job of articulating our stance on immigration, because we let the Republicans define something about us that wasn't true. And we embraced, in my opinion, a pretty stupid way to talk about immigration. Donald Trump has taken that now, and he's taken it a lot further, which is why his approval rating on immigration is actually lower. Ultimately, and I think the lesson from Mamdani more than anything, just to pivot back to that and to pivot on Bennett a little bit, is people are really frustrated with affordability. They're frustrated with their lives. They don't know how to pay their bills. They don't see a path to buy a house, retire with dignity, start a family. Trump capitalized on that really well in the last election. We didn't, because we weren't in power. Now we've got to get back in and start to articulate how we're going to help people, because people are struggling more. I mean, all the polls will tell you, all the people will tell you, they're worse off than they were 6 months ago.
Yeah, look, you talk to people and make them feel like you can help them when they're hurting. That's the ball game. Mike, it's good to see you as always. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.